Hi, everybody. It's Brandi. I've really been enjoying these lives. It helps me to really have these conversations with each of you out there. So thank you so much for all of you who are consistently listening to my lives. I really, really appreciate it. Like this time just reinforces for me kind of the importance of all of these fundamentals in a more holistic way because I'm usually giving kind of snapshots of them in my coaching, but to really go kind of deeper on these 15 minutes is really beautiful. So grateful to each of you for giving me this opportunity. It's beautiful in San Francisco today. It's just a really, really sunny day. It's been an amazing week. I did a live on Monday, and yesterday I did a webinar on gratitude that went really well. I have a live on Friday about curiosity. Got to hang out with a girlfriend last night. Tonight we have a gala for a museum here in town. And then tomorrow it's the Warriors game. So really hopeful that they are able to pull it out because they're 0-2. I love basketball. For those of you who know me, I grew up playing basketball. It was my first love. And so I get really into it. I wasn't really keen on being a season ticket holder, but it was really important to my husband. And now I'm so happy that we have them. It's really a lot of fun. And it's also kind of these built-in date nights that are so helpful to have. I want to thank you all for joining today, whether you're listening live or perhaps you tune into this afterwards. Always feel free to post any comments or questions that you have. Myself and my amazing team, we always come back to those questions and we answer those on an ongoing basis because we want to make sure that people have what they need to implement this work, because that's the beauty of it, right? It's like, how do you apply it to your life? I was at a luncheon yesterday and someone sitting at the table just shared that she'd listened to a podcast that I was on and she had this kind of takeaway and she was like actively doing something that I suggested every single day. And that just like brought a smile to my heart. So I love those fun moments. If you guys ever have those, please share them with me because it's just a beautiful reminder of why I do this work. And so with that, I'm Brandi Michelle. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a happiness coach and it's quite literally the best job in the world. And so, I think everyone knows the fundamentals of how to be happy, right? We meditate, we practice gratitude, we really lean into like the relationships that mean the most to us. But so many people are really kind of at a baseline unhappy, right? And so I teach people how to apply the core fundamentals in a way that actually works for them. And I have a gift of really helping people bring their awareness to that which is unknown and interfering with them, like really being happy in their soul. And this allows people who have checked all the boxes of success and achievement, who've secured all the money they ever thought they would need in life to finally cultivate true happiness. And the unintended consequence is that when you cultivate true happiness that you're seeking, all the other things in your life that you want to align to, they come to you much easier. So it's such a gift. And so today's live, we're actually like going to go much deeper on like why happiness, right? Like as I was thinking about like, how do I help people in this lifetime? I had many thoughts, right? Like I was going to focus on empowering people. I was going to like really dive deep on like making like having more financial resources and like I have this beautiful relationship with my husband, so I thought about like how I can help people have more beautiful relationships. But then what I realized is that like what helped me change my life and why I want to share this gift with the world is that I changed that paradigm of always kind of seeking and searching for the next thing that would bring me happiness. And I really pivoted to saying like, no, what are the things that I need to do to be happy and as I started to do those things, I saw just like this amazing synchronicities in my life. And there's lots more ease and flow in my life. And so, kind of opportunities that I think about, they come to pass much more easily than ever before. And previously in my life was full of friction. Oh boy. I mean, that is a story for another day, but I was a high achiever who was constantly in the midst of friction, right? And so, like, when I released all of that and just got to this like greater sense of peace in my being, increased my overall happiness, like, the world has just been a much better place for me, right? Because we see the world as we are. I'll say that again. We see the world as we are. So the happier we are, the more good we start to see, the more good that we invite in, right? So let's talk about why it's so important to really have happiness as that ultimate goal. So everything we're seeking really centers around happiness. And so I'll start by saying, like, I wanted to simplify this. Like, the work that I do is really about simplification. Like, how can I make this as simple as possible for people so that they can just like figure out how to align with their dreams, up level their lives, and like get to where they want to be. And so, like, I use the word happiness broadly, but it really is all encompassing around this idea of like acceptance and joy and peace and love. Like, all of those emotions kind of fall under this happiness umbrella, right? And so it's all encompassing, and we're really thinking about how to raise our happiness set point. Okay. So everything you're seeking, you believe that it will bring more happiness into your life. So whether it's through like success or wealth or relationship, or if you grow personally, everything you're pursuing, you are pursuing it with this idea that like the pot at the end of the rainbow is not just that you align with what you're seeking, but also that it brings you more happiness. It brings you more joy. And what I find is that what oftentimes is like people get to the end of the road, and what they actually have is this greater sense of excitement. So you get really excited, like, I got it, right? And that is like a short-lived emotion, right? Because it's a peak. And then for every peak, there has to be a valley. And so today I want to talk about really like happiness should be our starting point, not our end goal, right? Because research has shown that happiness is not just a byproduct of success. It's actually the precursor to success, right? So it is like the thing from which all creation can flow in this really beautiful way, right? Because when we raise our happiness set point, we have more energy. We're more easily, like, our motivation is there. We have more creativity to pursue our goals, right? So it allows us to be better manifestors of our desires. It allows us to co-create in this really beautiful way. And this is why happiness is so critically important, right? And so I want to note, I'm going to talk for a couple minutes here, that happiness does not mean that we suppress or ignore our negative emotions, right? So there's these dense emotions that come up for all humanity, right? So it's the emotion of sadness when we have loss in our life. It's the emotion of fear when we're in a situation, perhaps like in a dark alley and someone's coming toward us and we can't see them. It's the emotion of maybe worrying when we're in a situation like about our child, taking a test or the SATs or some applying to college, right? So there's all of these emotions. There's shame perhaps for things that we've done when we were younger. And then there's grief, right? When we experience kind of loss of an animal or a human that we were really close to. So all of these emotions are part of the normal human experience, and we don't want to suppress that. Nor do we want to ignore them, right? Because that actually essentially causes us to block our own happiness as well. We are simply seeking to rise our happiness set point, and we're acknowledging that these dense emotions that I just named, right, sadness, anger, fear, are here to teach us really important lessons, right? And so there are wisdom in those emotions, right? And so when we allow ourselves to experience this full spectrum of emotion, but know that like we are whole, we are in better alignment with who we are meant to be, when the majority of our life kind of centers in those real high vibration emotions, right? So we want the peaks to be wider, the valleys to be more narrow, and we want to gain wisdom anytime we are not at the peak, right? So what we know, I mentioned this yesterday on the webinar, is that the average human has 70,000 thoughts per day. 90% of those thoughts are repetitive, and 80% of those thoughts are negative, right? So it's this worry, it's a sense of lack, it's a sense of scarcity. There isn't what I need to get to where I'm going, right? And when we are in those emotions, life is like pushing a boulder up a hill. It feels unbearable. Now, the challenge is that like we have this consciousness across the world that that's normal, right? And if you share kind of your worry, your fear with your friends, you will oftentimes have them as a person who legitimizes it. They are saying, oh, yes, that is normal, right? And so something that occurs consistently is the norm, but it isn't our wholeness. It isn't who we are meant to be, right? We are meant to have this human experience, and we get to have it in this really beautiful way. And the first step is to set the intention that it gets to be better and better and better, right? So we want to experience again the whole spectrum of emotions, but we want to more often than not feel these really bright, happy, beautiful emotions. And when we have that like really high happiness set point, and something comes into our experience that doesn't align with happiness, we're able to more easily bounce back, right? And so for me, for example, there can be sadness that comes into my life around something that happens, right? But I have now the tools to move through that and to really get back to this real high set point. But if you're in this kind of lower vibration more often, when something comes in and it brings even more dense emotions, it can feel as though you just can't get out from underneath it, right? And so we really want to get to this place where we're not in that situation, right? Like we're not spinning around this really low set point, because from that place, creation is really hard, right? Because from that place, like when we think about it in terms of our nervous system, we're just in a state of survival, right? And so when you're in that state of survival, you cannot access this ability to have this big, beautiful, bright, shining life, because you're just trying to make it, right? And so worry, shame, grief kind of consumes all of our energy that could otherwise be available, right? This is why I said at the beginning that happiness allows creation to flow. Happiness allows synchronicities to show, like it allows ease to be this beautiful part of your life. Okay. And so let's talk a little bit about how we cultivate happiness, right? While also like embracing these full range of emotions. So first of all, we have to shift our mindset, right? I think that, as I mentioned earlier, we have this idea that it is normal to worry. I used to believe, like, this is so hilarious to me now, but I used to believe that if I didn't worry, I wouldn't be successful, right? And so, like, fun fact, one time I was like competing in a track meet, and I was pretty good long jumper in college, and so I was long jumping against someone who was like, I was like nationally ranked, and they were not, they didn't have a ranking. And so, right, like, obviously I should have easily won the meet. And so I didn't win the meet until the sixth jump. And I convinced myself in that moment that it was my lack of worrying that caused me to almost lose. Like, the irony of it though is that, like, I didn't lose. I actually won. And but I still, like, created this story, and I created this whole idea that I needed to worry to have the highest level of success. And so even from that point on, if I were competing against someone that I felt like I was easily going to be able to outjump them at the track meet, I would spend time like making my like the palms of my hands sweaty and trying to like create this state of worry, because I literally had such a deep belief that without that worry, I wouldn't win. Right? Because what did I do when I got to 5 jumps and I wasn't going to beat her? I started to worry. And then I worried and was able to jump really far on the 6th jump and win. And then I created a whole story that it was the worry that allowed me to win. And from that point forward until probably 7 years ago, I worried about everything. And I created this neural pathway connection in my brain. So we want to shift our mindset. And so instead of like judging or rejecting negative emotions, we need to see them as really like opportunities to grow and learn. We want to think of these negative emotions as not being normal. They're really just learning opportunities. And we want to really embrace and set an intention that throughout kind of our daily experiences, we'll have these really beautiful emotions of love and joy, right? And so we start our day with that intention, right? And then, of course, we want to prioritize like self-care and self-compassion. So having a lot of grace with yourself, right? So when things don't go as planned, instead of being really hard on yourself, right? Which is like doubling down on that same kind of dense emotional state. We want to just have really a lot of grace with ourselves so that we can move through it. We can get to the other side, right? And then I spend a lot of time kind of doing body work, because ultimately, when we don't move through things, we are inviting our nervous system to hold on to that for kind of this really long period of time. And so we really want to get to this state of moving through it. And then because we've had, years, decades of not moving through it, like doing kind of this beautiful body work and things of that nature, to allow your nervous system to really release any tension that it's been holding for this very long time, right? So when you take care of your physical, mental, and emotional well-being, then you can cultivate happiness in this really beautiful way. So things you can do every day, right? Making sure that you're sleeping and eating nutritious food, making sure that you're exercising, if you're a prayer, making sure you pray, or practicing some level of mindfulness or meditation. All of these things like really help in terms of self-care. So in conclusion, happiness really should be the goal, right? Increasing our happiness set point should be our goal. Not only does it allow us to like better manifest our desires, but it really enables us to live a more whole and fulfilling life, kind of on this path to achievement, on this path to success, on this path to financial abundance, on this path to beautiful relationships, on this path to health and wellness. So by prioritizing your happiness and embracing all of your emotions, we really are going to attract that abundance, success, and love into our lives much more effortlessly. It's such a beautiful, beautiful experience. So, in closing, I want to just say thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully, this was really helpful. If any of you are really ready to prioritize your happiness and start living a more fulfilling life, I do encourage you to join the village. It's my group coaching program. It's designed to help you achieve sustained success in your life by focusing on happiness as a goal and raising your overall vibration. So you will learn to really identify the beliefs that you have that are limiting in nature. You'll learn to align vibrationally to what you're seeking more easily. You'll get self-awareness so that you can really like see kind of what experiences you're circling around and inviting to your life. And then you'll really have this ability to kind of work through emotional regulation, right? To keep the memories and then lose the emotional attachment. All of these things are this proprietary process that I've created called BASE, and they are foundational to your happiness. And we implement them through weekly calls. So, and of course, action steps that you'll do following those calls. So, enrollment for the village closes on May 15th. They just put the link in the bio here if you'd like to sign up. There are a limited number of spots available, but I'd love for you to join us. Don't miss out on this opportunity to really transform your relationship with happiness and unlock your full potential. If you'd like to really just meet with me to learn more in advance of enrolling, feel free to shoot us an email, which we'll also put here in the comments. It's hello@brandymichelle.com. So again, you can always email me at hello@brandymichelle.com. Let me see if I can just, there you guys go. Okay. Oh, thanks. So as always, changing the world is an inside job. If we each strive to be the best version of ourselves, if we each strive to increase our happiness set point, imagine what a beautiful world it would be when we have 8 billion happy people. Thanks for joining me today, and I wish you all the very best on increasing your happiness set point. Bye now.